Ever since the 13th Amendment was passed 34 years ago, the Tamils have rejected it in toto. In fact, the main political party that had a resounding mandate in 77, the TULF at that time, wrote to the Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on the 28th of October 1987, when the 13th Amendment to the Constitution and the Provincial Council Bill, these two acts in the form of bills, had been tabled in Parliament, saying that India must intervene and stop the 13th Amendment from being passed in Parliament. And the Provincial Council's bill must also be stopped because it didn't come anywhere close to addressing Tamil concerns given the sort of losses that had taken place at that time. If you are saying not to pass the legislation because it is so poor, what that effectively means is that it was not even considered a starting point. And 34 years later, for those same people, Mr. Sambandhan was one of the signatories as the vice president of the TULF when they wrote to Rajiv Gandhi then, to have those same individuals headed by one of those signatories doing a complete U-turn and asking that it be implemented. I mean, if you ask for it to be implemented, it means that you have accepted it. If you are, in fact, not prepared to consider it a starting point, it doesn't matter whether the 13th Amendment exists or not. So to, in fact, say that they want it implemented very clearly shows that there is this danger of these Tamil parties that are aligned with India very closely have, in fact, settled for the 13th Amendment as the basis for a solution to Sri Lanka.
In the meantime, on Sri Lanka's constitutional history, Ahila Ilankai Tamil Congress Gajendra Kumar Ponnambalam had this to say.
Ever since the British left Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka claims independence, all three constitutions of quote-unquote independent Sri Lanka were rejected by the Tamils. In 1978, when the Second Republican Constitution was also promulgated, we very clearly did not take part in the making of it because the request to consider a federal arrangement was rejected immediately. Tamils taking part in the constitution-making process and actually supporting it is fundamental and crucial to close the chapter on the ethnic conflict.
MP Ponnambalam was, however, less than impressed by the prospect of Tamil MPs voting in favour of a new constitution which would also include elements of the 13th Amendment.
When Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who's going to bring a new constitution at the end of this month, includes the provisions of the 13th Amendment, the Tamils in Parliament, a majority, will support it. And there is a danger that the singular Buddhist nationalist agenda would very conveniently be fulfilled the moment a majority of the Tamil parliamentarians represent the Northeast support that new constitution, because for the first time in history, you will have a constitution that has come into effect with the Tamils consenting.